been a long time since that 2 weeks of Destiny 2 check-in, getting pretty close to 2 months ago that I started this whole journey. While I don't think this has the same charm of someone discovering a game for the first time, it seemed appropriate to have one more update on where I'm at now, or more like a massive retrospective, because everything has changed. I haven't been playing nearly as much as I did in those 2 crazy weeks, but this is still the only game I'm playing right now. I can't say this video has much of a purpose. Why am I flexing how much time I've wasted in a game when it really isn't anything to be proud of? Who knows, but I did fix up my fashion game. I gotta show that off. When I said I was sexy as hell before, I knew that I was just rocking some common gear I threw together with gold and black shaders. Not very creative. It's all subjective, but I feel like I have a bit more personality now, using 4 different shaders to match everything up. But I suppose still not very creative. This is modeled after a certain character in the universe. I'm sure some people can guess. Gonna have to make this cool year 1 vest into an ornament in Shadowkeep, because I can't really justify wearing it most of the time without any perks. I have some similarly themed things to swap to though, and I got plenty of options when it comes to armor now. Back then, at the 2-week point, I wasn't even looking at perks, and it was all about having a certain exotic. Now, do I want shards with shotgun or sniper scavenger, Nighthawk with special or heavy finder, you know, whatever I feel like. I went and put together some gambit setups as well with good perks. Not that any of that'll matter in Shadowkeep, but goes without saying I've collected a whole lot more now. Xur can help finish off the few of these that are left. Now before you say I have some broken RNG to be getting all this, you know it took plenty of playtime, right? I've been getting a whole lot of duplicate exotics recently. Thanks game, but I don't need a 3rd pair of lucky pants when I still can't manage to get Orpheus, one of the last things I've really been looking for, as well as the Ahamkara spine, but that more so for fashion reasons. It's crazy how much my perspective has changed looking back on my frame of mind then, and just how little I knew. I understood how to power level, because that's basically all I was doing. And of course I knew how to make public events heroic. That was the very first thing I made sure to learn, but I was mostly flying blind when it came to what perks to be looking for on things, what guns were even relevant, and in general the entire gameplay loop outside of chasing powerful gear drops. That was my entire life, just increasing my power level, and now I really couldn't care less about powerfuls unless I can do them passively like some treasure maps for an exotic chance. I feel like I have a much better grasp on the game as a whole now. All the individual metas, Crucible, Gambit, PvE, I can actually hold my own now and know what's going on. It didn't take long after the Hunter was maxed to start warming up to the idea of making all 3 characters. I recall being on the fence about it, but it was inevitable. I already had the Warlock with the Forsaken boost up to level 30, and I was using it for gunsmith bounties, getting a bit of XP every day doing that, so all I had to do was run through Forsaken. I was told by everyone how easy it would be to get other characters to 750 after I had done 1, and I believed it, but I figured yeah, cause I'll have 750 weapons, it'll be a little faster. But I didn't realize just how easy it really was, because on top of the weapons, I had been buying some exotics from Xur for the other classes, which made my soft cap for even blue drops so high that by the time I was done with Forsaken and got that free 690 power gear, I was already around 715 and threw it all in the trash. Only took another week of some more gunsmith bounties and barely any powerful hunting to be at 750. Similar story with the Titan, except it did start at level 1 and had to play through the whole campaign from scratch. I took that opportunity to save all the cool stuff from the beginning that you can't get back. I got the full 10 light broken armor set and the first 3 guns you get as well, since you can only reclaim them at a high power, just in case I ever want to be 10 light as a meme, I don't know. Although it's actually going to be ruined in Shadowkeep because they said every item you own will be boosted up to 750. But I also saved the full sets from before the disaster, and these aren't even in collections. You can't get them back, although they have cosmetic equivalents. Does anybody care? No, but I kept it anyway. Finally, I saved the broken ghost shell, and this is the very broken ghost, from after you took a little tumble off the tower, not to be confused with the other damaged ghost shell, which is in collections, and has the same icon, but that one is not falling apart nearly as much. Do I ever use the shell? No, but it was fun to collect. the Titan, as opposed to the other two, which did adventures and bounties and whatever else to level. The Titan was born and raised in the Crucible, level 1 to 50. I only did either the main storyline or PvP, because I knew that on the horizon was going to be Fallen, but also the quest for Fabled and Recluse, and I had no intentions of getting there honorably. I was raising a Titan for the sole purpose of becoming what I had looked down upon, and on that day, my one-eyed bottom tree striker was born. For you see, I already had my trusty 10 power one-eyed mask that I pulled out in the very first mission. You can see Gull wasn't a fan of one-eye users either, kicked me around a bit. This was my God Gamer setup for the entire 50 levels. Emphasis on the Tongaren LR3, amazing sniper, best in the game, everybody should be talking about it. I used that to finish off all the sniper kills I needed for the Revoker quest, always gotta be multitasking, and before long the Titan was also level 50 and ready to be used in the comp grind. So that didn't take long to have all three. The Hunter will always be me, it's my completionist character you could say, where I did every lost sector and adventure and quest and region chest even, I cleaned out every map, whereas the other two characters I would consider tools. I really don't care to go through any of that content again. Their main purpose is to get me more Bright Dust with the weekly well-rested bonus, and I can swap to them to run a support role if the occasion calls for it. It is fun to run well after the good man Devrim K gave me Lunas out of nowhere as one of my first random Warlock exotics, just turning in materials for a few engrams. Thanks dude, appreciate it. Maybe my RNG is a little busted sometimes, but with a Titan good to go and a toxic setup in hand, it was competitive time. In my defense, I stopped just short of using Lord of Wolves. It wasn't nerfed yet back then, but I had more fun running Last Word Beloved, which you might not even consider much better honor-wise. But either way, Lord of Wolves was just boring with how overused it was. I figured I'd go along with whatever gentleman's agreement there may have been, since I was already breaking just about every other one. I thought that maybe, when I put on the mask, it would be one of those things where it was annoying to play against, but not actually that crazy when you're the one using it. No, not one of those things. It's really damn good. So comp didn't go too badly, but it helped that I was carried most of the way by people much better than myself. Don't let me fool you into thinking this was a solo queue struggle all the way to Fabled. We went on a fat win streak that made it much faster, and that was Recluse done within a day. But before you hate me too much, I've recently learned maybe I don't suck as much as I thought I did. I think I could have gotten there without a hard carry, cause to skip ahead, just in this past week, I've been going back into comp on my Hunter as a gunslinger because Spectral's pretty lame. I can't break character as the man with the golden gun. I needed to be a Hunter because that's where I had some of my last few quests lying around for the Broadsword and Luna's Howl. I must have played 50 to 70 comp games doing all that, the hundreds of hand cannon kills, and when I needed 200 solar kills, this is where I did try out the post-nerf Lord of Wolves. Alright, give me a break, I didn't use it in its prime. It still seems really good, but clearly not as busted. The range at which it drops down to 10 damage now is very noticeably shorter, and feels much more like a shotgun range. Anyway, with no more carrying team to help me, and no more one-eyed crutch, I thought I was gonna drop like a rock, lose every game, but I went from 2300 to around 2300. Didn't really change. Went up and down, saw 2500, and down to 1900, and back up again. Just hung out at that rank. So you know what, you may still hate me for having it easy, but at least I feel like now I've put in my time in comp, and at the end of the day we did win all the games legitimately, not like there was any of that win trading nonsense I've heard about. You can go to that Discord bot and type in my name, you'll see it checks out, no cheating going on here. Aside from all the comp stuff, I've just been checking everything off the list, doing whatever there was to do. The 0 Hour and Whisper puzzles, then the Tribute Hall arrived, I kept on top of the daily boons and did the solo flawless bad juju thing. Iron Banner came back again, and I sunk a whole lot more time into that trying to improve my Swarm of the Raven roll. I got a few with Spike last time, but none that I could masterwork because they all had blast radius. This time I had 3 characters, so I could do all 21 bounties instead of only 7. I did the full armor quest on my Titan as well this time, but left the Warlock alone again, so when I went to turn in tokens I could only get weapons. I came out of Iron Banner 200 and something games later, with over 1,000 tokens on top of all the drops from the games. No, I did not AFK, I do play the game. Numbers wise, I didn't get lucky with swarms. I got a lot more of everything else, but I have 7 spike swarms now, and thankfully one of them was a good one. Hard launch, spike velocity. Sadly, 2 useless perks, no field prep, not even quick draw or rampage, but definitely good enough. I don't need to be doing much Iron Banner when it comes back again. Then it was Solstice of Heroes time, which I kinda no-lifed and got all 3 Majestic sets done in 8 days. And could have done it a lot faster, honestly. I was doing other things, wasn't racing to finish it. All it took was some 500 IQ multitasking, like when you need to do 50 bounties, what you gotta do is go to every planetary vendor, pick up all their bounties, but don't waste time doing them individually. No, that's where you go do all the strikes that you also need to do, and you get all the bounties done along the way, along with Vanguard and Gunsmith and so on. Yeah, no clue why I went for that so quickly. It meant getting all 300 EAZ mini-boss kills, because they hadn't announced their fix for it yet, cutting it in half and making bosses count for 5, but I'm glad they did make that change. It was a dumb requirement that just made people leave at the boss time. The only other big thing I can think of I've been working towards in the background has been some of the triumphs, or really just the seals. I focused on the easier ones. Some of these are far too challenging or time consuming for me to be bothering with, but Cursebreaker was a fun one to go for. All the eggs and bones, and doing all those Ascendant challenges, weekly story missions, and Shattered Throne, multiple characters to get the Ghost Shell, Sparrow, and ship from those activities. My RNG was not too bad on those, I will admit, but the Secret Victories emblem, my god, there was a lot of bad info on it. I read that you could get it guaranteed just by doing all 6 Ascendant challenges, and that you didn't need to do the time trials. Nope, wrong. Maybe you can get the base emblem as a rare Ascendant challenge drop? I don't know, but to get it guaranteed, you need to go for one of the 2 variants of the emblem. One is from doing all 6 time trials, which wouldn't be bad, but I hadn't been doing them, so I'd have to wait a couple more weeks for them to come back around again. Or you can get the emblem variant that is a rare drop from the Blind Well, and it apparently drops more frequently from Tier 1 and 2 charges. I'd only done plenty of Tier 3 and Heroic Blind Well, so I was willing to believe that. Well, this is where all my RNG luck fell apart. You can farm for the emblem by putting in a charge and letting it time out, infinitely faster than doing the entire activity, and the emblem can still drop from the chest after a failure. So I spent some 300 dark fragments on Tier 1 charges of light, 5 fragments each, which was fine because they aren't that useful, but the dark fragment cap is 200, so I needed to grind out more of them. Never thought I'd be needing dark fragments. And I also spent some 1,000 or so Baryon Boughs, infamously useless until now, apparently, on Tier 2 charges of light from that Ahamkara skull. So I got 5 of each charge, went to find my own Blind Well lobby so I wasn't messing with anyone, didn't want to AFK in someone else's Blind Well. I found me an empty room, put in my charge of light, and sat there and opened the chest, and repeat. A day and a half of doing this for a dumbass emblem that refused to drop. The best part is, the very first charge of light that I put in, some guy wandered into my instance when it was about to time out, and he got the drop. Drink from the well, it came up in the chat because it's a purple drop. No joke, I didn't even know it was that rare at the time. That was my first try. Looking back, I just can't believe the very first charge I put in, some dude gets it. Without that, I probably wouldn't have kept going as long as I did. I would have just given up and waited and done the Ascendant time trials method instead. But that gave me hope, and most importantly confirmed it was still possible to get it this way. Anyway, aside from that, Cursebreaker was fun and not too bad. Chronicler, very easy as well. I ran through and did everything here except for the Tangled Shore flashpoint. I can do that when it comes back around. And the Marasov time-gated lore, not much I can do about that. Even doing the 2 lores per curse week trick, that's only every 3 weeks, so I think it'll be October 8th that I can get Chronicler, assuming I never miss a week. Unbroken? Oh yeah, super easy, I'll be getting that any day now. Dredgen may be what people consider the easiest, and I have been done with all this for a while, and I am very nearly at the 3rd Infamy reset, just from doing all the pinnacles and events and whatever else. So with all that triple Infamy on the way, I can knock that out real quick and have Dredgen checked off. And finally, Wayfarer, I found I was pretty close to without knowing, since I did most of this on the Hunter anyway. Apparently, I didn't do enough heroic IO adventures. I can do that when the flashpoint is back. The only other thing I'm missing is one thing from the Osiris and Warmind collections. What could that be? I did all my Mercury prophecies and escalation protocol. I went through the rather frustrating Osprey grind. The Frigid Jackal. Another thing that will never drop for me, hundreds of resonant stems later. Getting my Braytech schematic every day. I did the first step of Nascent Dawn in every character as well for the free weapon drop. The thing is, I don't feel like it's worth grinding for right now anymore, because they said in a couple weeks, in Update 252, they'll be making the Braytech schematics easier to get, not limited to 1 per day, and they'll be more likely to give you weapons that you don't already own. So you know what, I can wait for that. Why struggle for it now when it's going to be easy in a couple weeks? I'm not going to use Wayfarer over Cursebreaker anyway. As for all the regular triumphs that aren't part of any seals, I still really don't care, and I don't see that changing. I have no desire to build up my triumph score. There is one category I've been doing in here. For whatever reason, it's been fun to go through these that make you use all the different subclasses and grenades. If anything, it's been helpful because it taught me what they all do. And I've also started doing whatever catalysts I have, like maybe you saw my epic gamer Jade Rabbit earlier, obviously worth going for. Having a lot of fun with Vigilance Wing too, that thing's crazy. And Sunshot was fun, but took ages, holy moly. Fun to mess around with different exotics. That's it for triumphs though, I haven't looked at barely anything in here. I guess 2019 is an easy title too, but still not going to use it over Cursebreaker, so don't really care, and I just don't raid, that's what it comes down to. Here's where everyone tells me I'm a real dum-dum, and yeah, probably. I know many would go so far as to say there's no point even playing the game if you aren't into raiding. You're building up these powerful characters fully stocked with endgame gear, and for what, if you don't use it in raids? I would disagree. I find plenty of enjoyment in the casual RPG aspects of improving my characters, hunting for good roles to use in the various events and dungeons I can play with friends. Even Crucible I don't hate as much as I once did, and I'd say I legitimately enjoy playing Gambit Prime as a squad. I say it that way because I suspect I'm in the minority, but I didn't live through the season of the Drifter, and when you're playing as a coordinated team, winning 90% of the time, it can be pretty fun. I'm sure not so much when you go in solo. Anyway, there has been plenty to do without raids. They just ain't for me. I have no desire to learn and then grind raids, doing weird convoluted puzzle mechanics, punching different shapes while trying not to get shot. I find it neither relaxing nor satisfying. I've tried to think through how I can explain my wacky point of view without sounding like an idiot. It might not be possible because I am an idiot. In a competitive team activity like CSGO, Rainbow Six, whatever, you work together, right? Fun times with friends. You could mess up and feel a little bad that you let people down, but there's always the chance that you make the big clutch play and you're the hero helping your team, and that's what you play for. That's the high you're chasing, and you're always learning, getting better, executing more complex strategies. In a raid, there's still the chance I mess up and feel bad because I want to do well and be a helpful teammate, and there's a lot I would need to learn. But then on the flip side, there's also zero chance of making any big play or being the hero because they're PvE activities that have been out for a long time. It seems like it's practically boring with how routine and second nature it is to everyone but me who's confused and just trying to survive. I could put in the time to memorize and master all the weird puzzles there are, or I'm fortunate in that there are plenty of kind people I could ask that I'm sure would be willing to help me learn, but even then I would just be catching up to everyone else. I don't see the payoff. I don't care about getting any of the gear, so at that point, I guess it really isn't about the game, it's more of a social thing, which I can understand if you've got 6 close friends who are all into Destiny, but I'm not a social person, if you couldn't tell that from me. When there are 5 people talking, I'm not the type to jump right in. Alright, well I have no clue if that resonates with anybody. I know I'm the weird one here. I certainly don't think that the game should change in any way to suit me better. I don't even know what that would be. I just haven't been interested. I doubt anybody predicted the timeline where I get into Destiny and then don't raid. I'm sure not even the Vex foresaw that future. Oh, before I forget, to clear my name, because it was hilarious the number of people on the first video who legitimately thought I was using the last word in raids. Come on now, I didn't even have the last word when I did those raids. My 1 week setup was a half-decent go-figure roll, Lord of Wolves, and a garbage Hammerhead roll, all around 720 light. Those last word clips was just me capturing some cinematics of loading into the Leviathan, cause it looked cool, and I teleported to Riven to mess around a bit, cause I didn't save any raid footage. I thought people would kinda notice that I was alone, and not actually doing the raid, you know? Well, that brings us to now, current day, and I'm nearing the point where I've done just about everything I want to do. Finally cleaned up the Pursuits tab down to under 1 page. Nice and tidy, quests are all done. Well, one sec. That's better. Haven't touched the menagerie since the chest fix, that's pretty funny. Oh boy, I can't wait to use all these runes. The only pinnacle I have left is the big bad mountaintop, which I made some progress on in the background. Whenever I was doing something in PvP, I always had my play of the game on, but I do not care enough to grind for it exclusively if I don't have some other reason to be in the Crucible. That would get very frustrating for very little payoff, and they said they were making it easier to obtain in an upcoming update. So I'll wait to see what that entails first, if the objectives are gonna change at all, or just get cut in half, who knows. Wendigo's getting easier too, apparently. Not sure why, that seemed a lot easier than this is. As far as things I'm still planning to do, I'll keep checking in with Zur each week, of course, no reason not to. I'll finish the Solstice masterworking when Shattered Throne comes back. I could keep rolling more blast furnaces, I never got a very good one, but after getting back-to-back Jotun drops, my reasons for grinding Black Armory dropped significantly, so I haven't done that in a while. Also in that upcoming update, it'll be easier to get Gambit Prime weapon drops, Reckoning as well. I may want to do some of that, because I had a great 1-2 punch shotgun, and deleted it like a buffoon. I read the perk, and I thought, well that sounds pretty bad, and I trashed it. Of course, the very next day, everyone's suddenly talking about how they're one-shotting bosses with it. Cool, guess I'll die. So, could go for that again. I got Liar's Handshake a long time ago after all. I could be a sweaty boy and go for a good spare rations at the same time. I could even destroy my soul trying to get a good Mindbenders. I think I'll pass. But that's really it. My to-do list has gotten very small. Now I'll just be hoarding up shards and various gunsmith materials for Shadowkeep, which is gonna be sick, especially since I hit up the Bungie CEO and was like, hey man, how about you push back Shadowkeep a couple of weeks so it doesn't overlap with the Modern Warfare beta, and he was like, alright, I got you. So that's cool. It was delayed to a perfect time so that I can play it for 3 full weeks or so before Modern Warfare time. But that is my story, the full, expanded Zero to Hero, cause I wasn't much of a hero gear-wise after only 2 weeks. I still don't know what the point of this video was, it's just fun to talk about something I've put a lot of time into, especially looking back now that I've more or less reached the end. Well, for now. Can't call it the end, I'll be sticking around. One thing I've learned in my time here, there's always more to discover, to explore, to achieve in the vast universe of Destiny.
Double down. Look at them all. Delightful.
Whoa. Oh my god, help!